Hello, my name is Paula Bean. I am a homeschool mom of 4 brilliant children. They were here earlier, but they have had to leave to actually go to a tutoring session. I began my homeschool journey in 2018 when my oldest daughter entered pre-K. I attended public school my entire educational career, and I actually taught high school English at Quitman, oddly enough, for 2 years after graduating from college. It was during this time that I decided to homeschool my children. While I adore teachers, students, and administration, and I do support the public school education method, there are many cracks in the system, as we saw earlier, that were revealed to me during my time of teaching, which inspired me to homeschool. We are also a family who is receiving EFA funds for one of our children. My other children have already been approved for next year, and they are very anxious about receiving their funds and the opportunities that this will open up for them. As a member of the homeschool community, there was extreme distrust of the EFA funds when they were first presented. In general, there is extreme distrust of the government as a whole in the homeschool community, if I'm honest. After lots of research, I decided to become an advocate for the EFA. I've had multiple conversations with moms about the blessings that the EFA has brought to our family and the possibility of blessings it can bring to theirs. I'm here today for 2 reasons. One is I'm fighting for my children. The other one is I'm afraid that I have convinced a whole lot of families to trust the EFA program and that this committee is going to make me out to be a liar. Now, I don't want to take up much of your time, so I want to give you 3 things that the EFA has done for me and for my family, and then I want to share 3 quick concerns on what I am about some of the amendments that I saw in the bill. The first was that it was a much-needed stamp of approval from the government on our choice to homeschool. Homeschool parents must deal with an extreme amount of pressure and criticism from society. The EFA, in a way, told us as homeschool parents that we were seen and that we were the Arkansas government. Second, the EFA provided resources for my son that we either could not have provided or we would have had to sacrifice more to provide. I am talking about access to the internet, technology, STEM kits, and basic supplies. We knew the sacrifice we were making when we decided that I would stay home full-time and homeschool. However, with the EFA funds, Arkansas politicians partnered with homeschool families to develop future citizens of this great country who could be prepared to contribute to this country. You may think I'm over-exaggerating when I say that purchasing a pencil is providing for our country and providing for successful citizens, but the research on the positive emotional, mental, and physical outcomes of having at least one parent at home in homeschooling is everywhere now. Now, I have seen public school teachers, admin, and parents become incredibly offended by the mention of homeschooling, and I get where they're coming from, but you can't deny that the research is there. Finally, my child is currently able to take part in art and music classes at local businesses. We are contributing to local economy, and also he is learning at an amazing rate. He has some learning disorders that would have affected him in a normal public school setting. But through music, art, therapy, project-based learning programs, and tutoring, almost entirely provided for by the EFA, he has begun to thrive in both social and educational settings. The team of people that I have been able to put together for this child have benefited him in ways that we may not fully recognize until he is much older. The opportunities my children will have in the future are unmatched to anything I experienced growing up. While my children are benefiting, our state is also developing a generation of Arkansans who are incredibly well-rounded. With that being said, I have 3 concerns about some of the amendments being discussed in the committee. Again, I'm not fully familiar with how all of this works, so please excuse me if I've made a stupid comment. But EFA funds, according to what I read, can no longer be used to pay for access to the internet and technology. Now, this language was confusing to me when I read the amendment, but like I said earlier, we live in a rural area, and the only internet available for us was Starlink. Now, we have to pay for our monthly bills, and we do that just fine. However, buying the equipment for Starlink was an issue. We went a long time without proper internet, and my children suffered for it. Thanks to the EFA funds, they now have vital access to the internet. In addition to this, my child has been given access to technology that allows him to do tutoring online and play educated games related to our curriculum, especially reading and learning foreign languages. I am begging you to reconsider this amendment. We live in Arkansas. Many of our children receiving these funds will live in rural areas. It makes no sense to block them from accessing the internet or technology, that we live in a time where technology is the method. We want our Arkansas children to be as advanced as possible. Also, the amendment to the art, music, and STEM classes is not only confusing to me and to my husband, but could be devastating for students who may live in an area with a school that doesn't provide certain types of art, music, and STEM classes. I actually got an email while I was sitting in here from one of the vendors that we use saying that they may or may not be able to provide for students using EFA funds next year, depending on what happens in this committee and throughout the rest of this legislation. Now, why should a student suffer because of their local school district doesn't offer something? And how are we even going to keep up with what district provides what? A student cannot control what their local school does or does not offer, and you want to tell the child that they cannot use the funds to access other opportunities because of something that they cannot control. A dear friend of mine has a child that has decided she wants to learn the harp, which is very confusing to me. Our local school does not offer harp classes, so now with the language, that child may or may not be able to continue using her AFA funds for her lessons, even though the cost of those lessons is no more than taking violin lessons. Finally, the language around using the fullest extent of the law to retrieve funds used incorrectly from the parents is a tad terrifying. Homeschool families as a whole do not trust you. If you add language in there that they may be prosecuted to misusing funds, you will see the program crumble. People will not join. And if you want the program to crumble, then you can leave that language in there, but I want you to remember that I have 4 children who desperately want this program, and there are hundreds like them who are also counting on you guys. I agree that the majority of the funds should not be being used on private lessons. I also agree that the funds should be allocated for necessary educational material. However, we already have to get approval for everything that we purchase. There are so many strict guidelines in place already for purchasing items with these funds, and honestly, they are getting more strict and more limiting already. If a mistake is made in purchasing an item, I don't understand why the blame is put on the parent when the program has to approve the funds. The ability to misuse funds is already so incredibly slim. However, because of the language, our family has already discussed pulling out of the program. I've been telling moms all year that it's okay to trust this program, and now I'm hesitant to trust it myself. This is what I want to say, and this is what I'm begging you to hear. You have the opportunity to really invest in all of Arkansas's children. You have the opportunity to really invest in all of Arkansans. You have the opportunity to tell a huge group of people that you really are on their side. Or you can continue to live in a bubble and ignore the children that are waiting for their turn with these funds. Please consider what 10 years down the road will look like. When my children are graduating and they can say, my parents and my state raised me. They fought for me and gave me the opportunities to be the absolute best I could be. My parents and my state realized that education is not one size fits all, and they decided to invest in my future as an individual. My parents and my state gave me the chances to succeed as well-rounded, educated citizens, and I'm proud to be a product of my parents and my state. Or they can say, my state didn't trust my parents, so I no longer trust my state. Thank you.